I feel like we have this deeply ingrained expectation that life should operate kind of like a cosmic vending machine.
A vending machine.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You put in the right currency, right? Hard work, being a good person, following all the rules.
Treating people well, sure.
Exactly. And you expect the machine to just process all of that and drop a neatly packaged reward right into the tray for you.
Right, you expect safety, prosperity, a good life. It's the ultimate comfort mechanism when you really break it down.
It totally is.
It's a predictable universe driven by cause and effect, You do good, you get good.
But then you hit a snag. Because you put your coin in, you do everything perfectly, and the machine takes your currency, gives you absolutely nothing, and then, well, maybe it falls over on you and crushes you for good measure.
Yeah, which is a terrifying thought.
It is. And when that purely transactional view of the universe shatters, you find yourself standing in the exact same place as the protagonist of one of the most ancient, profound, and honestly, genuinely challenging texts in human history.
The Book of Job.
The Book of Job.
That text really is the ultimate confrontation with the broken vending machine. And what's fascinating structurally about the source material we are looking at today for you is that it's not just a simple moral fable.
Right. It's not just a bedtime story.
Not at all. It's an intricate literary masterpiece. It actually frames this massive, dense, poetic debate about justice and suffering inside a very old prose narrative. It's a deep exploration of humanity's relationship with the vast, terrifying unknown.
Basically demanding to know how we're supposed to process tragedy when we've done literally nothing to deserve it.
Exactly.
So our mission for this deep dive is to extract those core insights and view this ancient story through a modern lens for you. And to understand it, we really have to look at the setup first, because Job is essentially living the ultimate success story in a place called the Land of Uz.
He really is the prime example of the vending machine working perfectly.
Right.
His life is a monument to earthly prosperity. He's incredibly wealthy, but importantly, the text goes out of its way to establish his absolute moral integrity.
Yeah, he's not a corrupt billionaire.
Exactly. He is generous, he is upright, and he possesses this deep, unshakable reverence for God.
And his portfolio is just staggering. I mean, he's essentially an ancient tycoon. He's got, 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels?
A massive workforce of servants.
Right, and he is highly respected in his community. Plus, he has this large, beautiful family. 7 sons and 3 daughters.
And he is so devoted, so meticulously careful about his morality, that the text notes he actually offers burnt sacrifices for his children.
Just in case.
Right, just in case they accidentally sin in their hearts without even knowing it.
Which is wild. I mean, he is aggressively covering all his bases to keep the vending machine functioning smoothly.
He is absolutely flawless in his devotion.
Yeah.
But then the narrative pulls the camera back, right? It shifts abruptly from Job's earthly prosperity to a cosmic courtroom.
This is where it gets crazy.
Yeah. We get a scene where heavenly beings appear before God, and among them is a figure called Satan.
Now wait, the source text notes something really important here for a modern reader, because this isn't the guy in the red suit with a pitchfork.
Right.
The word actually translates to the accuser.
And that ancient cultural context is crucial for you to understand. In the context of ancient Near Eastern literature, the Satan acts almost as a title or a role.
Like job description.
Precisely. Think of him as the prosecuting attorney of the heavenly court. His job is literally to roam the earth, find flaws in humanity, and bring those accusations before the divine judge.
And God actually points to Job and says, look at this guy, look at my servant Job. There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright.
But the prosecuting attorney pushes back.
Of course he does.
The accuser's argument is fundamentally cynical. He asks, does Job fear God for nothing?
Man, that single question, that is the engine driving the entire philosophy of this text.
It really is. The accuser is claiming that Job's faith is entirely transactional.
Right. He's saying, look, it's incredibly easy to be a good person when you're rich, healthy, and protected by a divine hedge.
Take away the wealth, strip away the security, and this supposed moral paragon will curse you right to your face.
And God, shockingly, allows the test. I mean, he permits the accuser to take everything from Job, establishing only one strict boundary. Job himself cannot be physically harmed.
Which is just...
As a modern reader, my immediate reaction to this premise is just utter horror. I mean, okay, let's unpack this for a second. It's like testing a billionaire's character by freezing all their assets, burning down their companies, and destroying their family.
Just to see if they genuinely love the universe or if they just love the perks.
Yes.
Yeah.
It feels like a cruel cosmic wager using human lives as poker chips.
Yeah.
Why would God agree to this bet in the first place?
It is a profoundly jarring premise, and honestly, it is meant to be. But this challenge operates as a narrative device, right? It sets up a central philosophical tension.
Okay.
It forces you, the reader, to ask a terrifying question. Is human goodness merely a Pavlovian reaction to being rewarded? Oh, wow.
Right. Can faith or love or integrity exist completely independently of good fortune? If we only honor the universe when it gives us what we want, we aren't practicing love. We are practicing commerce.
Practicing commerce. That hits hard. And the devastation that follows that wager is absolute. We move straight from that theoretical heavenly debate into just catastrophic earthly consequences.
And the psychological weight of it is staggering because it all happens in a single day.
A single day, Job is just sitting at home, and a messenger arrives to tell him raiders swept in, stole all the oxen and donkeys, and killed the servants.
And while that guy is still speaking,
Another messenger runs in. Lightning, or the fire of God, fell from the sky and burned up all the sheep.
And while he is still speaking, a third arrives.
Yeah.
More raiders stole the camels.
The pacing of the text here is just breathless. It's agonizing. It's a complete dismantling of his economic and social world in a matter of minutes.
But then the absolute worst happens.
Yeah. A fourth messenger arrives. A great wind swept in from the desert and struck the house where his children were feasting. The house collapsed. All 10 of his children are dead.
Job's entire world is wiped out before the sun even sets.
It brings us to the raw core of how human beings respond when the absolute foundation of their reality crumbles.
Right.
Job's reaction is one of the most famous and perhaps most challenging statements in the text. He tears his clothes, falls to the ground, and says, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised."
Despite this unimaginable grief, he refuses to curse his creator.
Exact.
But the prosecuting attorney in the heavenly court isn't done. The accuser returns and basically argues skin for skin, meaning, sure, he lost his property and his family, but human beings are ultimately just self-preservation machines.
Right.
If you strike his own flesh and bone, his survival instinct will short-circuit his morality and he will break. So God permits this second test. He allows physical affliction, but forbids taking Job's life.
And the physical reality Job endures is brutal. It's isolating. He is struck with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head.
The source describes him sitting among the ashes of the city dump, literally scraping his festering wounds with a piece of broken pottery.
He has lost his wealth, his family, and now his basic human dignity.
Which brings us to a really pivotal moment. This is the moment his wife reaches her breaking point. She looks at this ruined man sitting in the ashes and says, "Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die."
And Job responds, "You are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?"
See, I have to push back on the traditional reading of this scene for a second. Because historically, Job's wife gets painted as this villainous, weak figure.
Oh, absolutely.
But honestly, she represents the most understandable, relatable human reaction in the entire story.
Yeah.
I mean, you lose all 10 of your children in a freak accident, your husband is in absolute agony, your life is over. Of course, you're furious.
It's completely natural.
Right. She is the voice of modern reason saying, look, the vending machine is rigged, so kick it over. And here's where it gets really interesting. Is the text suggesting we are supposed to be completely unbothered by tragedy? Like, is Job just this impossible standard of a stoic robot?
That is a crucial distinction to make. And no, the text absolutely does not demand robotic stoicism.
Okay, good.
Job is emphatically not unbothered. He is suffering profoundly. And as the source notes, shortly after this exchange with his wife, Job breaks his silence and just unleashes a torrent of despair.
Yeah, he literally curses the day he was born. He wishes he had never existed at all.
He is in pure, unfiltered agony. He is screaming into the void.
Yeah.
The key difference between Job and his wife is the target of the anguish. Job directs his pain, his frustration, and his profound depression at his existence, but he refuses to break the architecture of his worldview.
Interesting.
He maintains the core belief that both the good and the terrible originate from a sovereign universe.
Oh.
He doesn't abandon his framework of reality just because his personal reality has become a nightmare.
So he's holding on to the foundation of his belief even while the house is actively burning down around him.
Exactly.
And because his suffering is so intense and so visible, his community arrives to try and, put out the fire. When our worldview shatters, we instinctively turn to our friends for answers.
We all do it.
But what happens when our friends are terrified by our suffering?
Well, we see that dynamic play out perfectly with Job's three friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar.
Initially, they actually perform a masterclass in empathy. Like, they arrive and they're so horrified by the state Job is in, they can barely recognize him. That they sit down on the ground with him in complete silence for 7 days and 7 nights.
It is a beautiful, pure expression of bearing witness to pain. Sometimes the only true response to profound, senseless suffering is presence. No platitudes, just solidarity.
Right, but then the 7 days end and they start talking.
And that's when it all falls apart.
Completely falls apart. The text shifts from the prose narrative into this dense, intense poetic debate. Job speaks up and curses his birth, demanding to know why he is being kept alive to suffer.
And his friends, who are entirely unable to handle the ambiguity of his pain, unleash this rigid mathematical logic on him. They argue, God is perfectly just. Therefore, all suffering is a direct punishment for personal sin.
Cause and effect again.
Right. Since Job is suffering in this terrible, unprecedented way, he must be hiding some monumental wickedness. They apply a very clean, merciless equation to his life.
When I read this part of the source material, the parallel to modern internet culture is impossible to ignore.
Oh, how so?
Think about when something awful happens to someone in the news, right? The comment sections immediately fill up with people trying to find a reason why it was the victim's fault.
Oh, absolutely.
They're like, why were they walking in that neighborhood at night? Or why didn't they invest their money better? Or why didn't they see the warning signs?
It is classic victim blaming, and it's driven by a well-documented psychological mechanism called the just world fallacy.
So what does this all mean? It's entirely based on fear, right?
100%.
If these three friends can convince themselves that Job somehow deserved to lose his children and his health, they don't have to worry about a random, chaotic tornado coming for their houses. They need the universe to be predictable to feel safe.
That is the deep human desperation at play. We crave cause and effect because it grants us an illusion of control. The friends represent that terror.
Right.
Think about it. If Job, who they know is the most righteous man in their community, can lose everything for absolutely no reason, then none of them are safe.
No one is safe.
Exactly. So for their own psychological survival, they need him to be guilty.
But Job absolutely refuses to confess to something he didn't do. He insists on his innocence. I mean, he readily admits he isn't a flawless human being, but he knows he hasn't done anything to warrant a cosmic death sentence.
He refuses to lie just to make his friends feel better.
Yeah, and he turns his attention upward, relentlessly demanding an audience with God to ask why.
And just as this debate reaches a total gridlock, after the three friends have exhausted themselves, a fourth, younger voice enters the fray. Elihu.
Right, Elihu. He seems to offer a completely different paradigm that kind of bridges the gap between the friends' rigid math and Job's desperate questioning.
Elihu is such a fascinating voice in the text because he criticizes both sides. He tells the friends they are arrogant to blindly accuse Job without evidence, but he also pushes back on Job's demand that God owes him an explanation.
Elihu seems to be introducing the idea that, well, maybe suffering isn't always a penal sentence from a judge.
Precisely. Elihu suggests that suffering might operate as a megaphone. He introduces the concept that pain can be a tool to teach, to correct, or to humble people, like a preventative measure to keep souls from falling into the pit of pride.
Okay, so a slightly more nuanced view.
Yeah, the text uses Elihu to crack open the vending machine logic. He introduces the reality that human understanding of suffering is fundamentally limited, and the universe's motives are vastly more nuanced than our simple equations.
And he sets the stage perfectly for the climax. Because Job has been screaming his legal defense into the void, the friends have been presuming to speak as God's defense attorneys, and finally, the universe answers back.
Yes.
God speaks to Job out of a literal whirlwind.
It is arguably one of the most dramatic and awe-inspiring moments in ancient literature.
It's massive, and yet it is wildly unexpected, because crucially, God never explains the heavenly wager with the accuser.
Never mentions it.
He never tells Job why he suffered. He doesn't say, hey, sorry about the kids, there was this cosmic bet to prove a point.
No, instead, God unleashes this overwhelming barrage of majestic, almost intimidating questions.
Right, like, where were you when I laid the earth's foundation?
Have you comprehended the vast expanses of the earth? Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades?
He points to the intricate mysteries of creation. And then he brings up these terrifying, uncontrollable creatures, Behemoth and Leviathan. And I have to say, as a modern reader, I felt a surge of genuine frustration on Job's behalf here.
Because it feels dismissive.
Yes. Wait, so Job loses everything. His entire world, his body is falling apart. And God's answer to his profound grief is essentially to pull rank and give a wildlife tour about sea monsters. How is that comforting?
I completely understand that reaction. It feels like the ultimate divine deflection.
Totally.
But to understand this, you have to look at the ancient cultural mechanism behind those creatures. To the ancient mind, Leviathan and Behemoth weren't just big animals at the zoo.
Okay.
They were powerful mythological representations of cosmic chaos. They were the terrifying, untamable forces of the universe.
So God isn't just saying, look at this big hippo I made.
Not at all. God is telling Job, I manage the raw, terrifying chaos of the universe every single day, a chaos that you cannot even fathom, let alone control. This is the crucial aha moment of the entire text for the listener. It changes the paradigm by completely decentering the human perspective.
The universe is not a human-centric vending machine.
Exactly. By showing Job the vast, dizzying complexity of creation, the systems that bring rain to uninhabited deserts, the wild creatures that operate completely outside of human utility or understanding, the story shatters Job's and the friend's tiny framework of justice.
So the purpose is not to belittle Job.
No, it's to emphasize that human wisdom is a microscopic fraction of a vast cosmic ecosystem.
It's not I'm bigger than you, so shut up.
Right.
It's more like, look at the sheer terrifying scale of the universe. The systems at play are so complex and so far beyond your vantage point that you couldn't possibly understand the why even if I handed you the blueprint.
That's exactly it. It invites humans to trust in a wisdom that extends so far beyond human comprehension, rather than expecting a digestible mathematical equation for every tragedy. God is saying the universe is a sprawling, wild, intricate masterpiece, not a transactional mechanism built solely for human reward and punishment.
And Job hears this voice from the whirlwind. He takes in this vision of cosmic management, and his response is pure humility. He isn't crushed, he's awed.
Right.
He says, surely I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know.
He repents of speaking beyond his limited knowledge.
And importantly, the narrative provides a vital vindication here. God publicly rebukes the three friends.
Oh, that must have felt good for Job.
I'm sure it did. God declares that they did not speak correctly about him. Their rigid, safe theology of good things always happen to good people, bad things always happen to bad people, was fundamentally wrong.
Wow.
And Job, despite his blistering anger and his relentless questioning, was ultimately right to hold on to his integrity and demand an audience with reality.
Job was honest, and the friends were just trying to protect their own theology.
Exactly.
So God makes the friends offer sacrifices, and Job, in just a profound act of grace, prays for the men who just spent days tormenting him. And God accepts the prayer.
Which brings us to the epilogue, the physical restoration. Right, Job's health returns. His wealth is completely doubled. I mean, he gets exactly twice as many camels, sheep, oxen, and donkeys as before. He has 7 more sons and 3 more daughters, and he lives another 140 years to see several generations of his descendants.
So, synthesizing the depth of this ancient text leaves you with powerful takeaways for modern life. First, good people can and do suffer profoundly. It is a reality of the human condition.
Yeah.
Second, suffering isn't always a neat mathematical punishment for personal failure. Third, our human perspective is deeply inherently limited. And finally, robust faith and personal integrity can endure without having every single question answered.
It's perspective we desperately need today, honestly.
I agree.
We live in an information age where we demand immediate explanations for everything. If an economy crashes, or a pandemic hits, or a random accident takes someone we love, we want the data. We want the cause, and we desperately want someone to blame so we can feel in control again.
You want the universe to be knowable and manageable.
Yes, but the book of Job serves as an ancient, grounding anchor. It reminds you that it is entirely acceptable to acknowledge grief, to harbor deep doubt, and to scream your honest questions at the universe, while simultaneously accepting that you simply cannot possess the whole picture.
It's powerful.
It is incredibly relieving to read an ancient text that essentially says, it's okay that you don't have all the answers. It removes the intense, crushing pressure we place on ourselves to try and rationalize every bad thing that happens.
Right. Sometimes the chaos is just beyond our understanding, and we don't have to force a fake reason onto it just to feel safe in our beds at night. That surrender to the mystery of the unknown is perhaps the most profound wisdom the text offers.
Absolutely. But as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over. It's a tension woven right into the final sentences of this text.
The ending isn't quite as neat as it seems, is it?
No, it really isn't. The source notes that in the end, Job's wealth was mathematically doubled. He got exactly twice the livestock, and he received 7 more sons and 3 more daughters.
On the surface, it reads like a perfectly symmetrical happy ending.
But here's the reality you have to explore for yourself.
Yeah.
Livestock is replaceable.
Sure.
You can double your sheep, you can buy more camels, but human children are not fungible assets.
No, they aren't.
Does this neatly packaged restoration, where he gets a quote-unquote new family, actually resolve the deep, incalculable emotional trauma of losing his first 10 children in a collapsed house?
It's a haunting question to carry with you. Is the ancient author subtly acknowledging a darker truth? That even when life is eventually restored, even when blessings are renewed and the future looks bright again, the profound scars of unexplained suffering remain a permanent, aching part of the human experience.
We want you to think about how we quantify loss and restoration in your own life. Because when the cosmic vending machine breaks and crushes everything you hold dear, even if time passes and someone helps you build a brand new one, well, the bruises from the first one never truly fade. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.